we go to Clive was first, and then we go to Ayob, and then we go to Zambezi in that order. Thank you.
Thank you, Chumama, for the opportunity. So I would try to make my submission more about the people and less to do with Geza as a person. So the question is, what do we as a people, what do we want to achieve? I feel like we a lot of times we ask that question, and when we don't even have like the proper answer to create enough motivation for us to carry this thing to the end. There are some kids in Harare who were born, they've never seen water coming out of their taps. There are people who have grown up in Gunana Dama Falls, Zimre Park, Springville, Fairview Park. They've never, those stands were bought and right away that's what they know as their water sources. So for a person like me who has seen water come out of the tap at some point, for me to have the same motivation with Munasnambo Brauna Mvura, they don't even know it's their right to have running water on the tap. So we need to make sure we have a concrete foundation as a motivation for us to move in one accord towards attaining that goal that we actually want, which is getting rid of not just Mnangagwa, not just ZANU-PF, but we need a total flush of the system. And I've always said this, like that is the problem. You've heard Mnangagwa, even Mugabe back then saying Zimbabwe, Tongwane Ropa. And this whole time, the people who actually were on the forefront of like the opposition, people trying to push, some of them did not actually go to the war. Now we have a Geza who could have said something earlier on the past 5-10 years and didn't. But right now, because he actually knows what Kutokutorwane Ropa means. And right now, he's actually coming up to be like, you know what? Let's do this. These people need to go. These people need to do this. Now, I agree with him partially. These people need to go. Then I remember there's an interview that he had with Mhlanga before. I think it was one of the very initial interviews where he said, part of this. Why is it on Tonga and all this and all that? Why not us? Now, this is the other thing. Politics does not really build up on the forefront. There's a whole lot of back-end, programming and back-end build-up that does happen. That sometimes we can be, like, think about what happened in November 2017. We knew one thing. We knew that, we're going to protest, we're going to do this, we're going to do that, we're going to do this, right? That's what we knew as a country. But at the back, there were people who were on tables. There were people, oppositions, the Mnangagwas, the Chwengas, there were people who were orchestrating this whole thing. They were sitting, we didn't have that knowledge as the general public. Now, what does it mean? We should not normalize the thing that the people who are going to be on the forefront of the war, of the struggle, are going to be the people who are going to be attending, the positions whenever this happens. Leaders need to be groomed. They need to be trained. They need to know leadership qualities. You need to earn that position based off merit, not based off, I was leading the struggle, I was leading this, I was leading that. Which means if I'm ever going to team up with Geza, it should be inscripted in his mind that just because he's leading the war doesn't mean that he's going to be on the forefront of who's going to lead the country after that. That's one. Two, the other thing that bothers me a lot is how we like throwing the constitution into the conversation based on we think it's convenient. Now, I've always said this. You heard that guy Nontsima here. He said it on national television. Constitution is paper. If it does not cater for us, we can literally tear it apart and create a new one. What does that mean? That means that low-key, ZANU-PF thinks it owns Zimbabwe. Not that it was voted into power to rule Zimbabwe or to be the ruling party. They low-key think they own Zimbabwe. They feel like they have, infinite rights and ownership to Zimbabwe and Zimbabwean people. It feels like it's a niche, or it's a small group of those people that think they are able to dictate what happens and what does not happen in Zimbabwe. And that is a problem that we have, fostered for way too long. Right now, it has gone to toxic levels that right now they think, oh, urupinda wakarwa hondo, urupinda wakade, so and that's the problem. Now they think they can also pass it to who they choose, like these Vanatino Machakaire, these, all those Mnangagwa juniors who are in parliament right now. It doesn't have to be like that. So that is the thing. Like on one side, we need to come up together. Everyone who has an opinion about removing Mnangagwa and this whole ZANU-PF, and I want to also include the system, because there's a system that is in place. There's a way things are done. Now, I promise you, if we remove ZANU-PF, if we remove Mnangagwa, and we don't flush the system, whichever party is gonna come into power, whoever is gonna come into power, as long as that system still exists, we are doomed. And what do I mean by the system? I think I said it like in a space that I was talking last week. The problem with Zimbabwe's mindset right now as a populace is broken. We think corruption is just in the higher offices. No, it's not just there. It starts at a primary school teacher who is sabotaging my lessons during the week so that she gets Mariama extra lessons over the weekend. It starts with a security guard who is allowing, just a floor manager to live with, Matuze. But that mindset, it starts with Vanarpa Bridge where I'm like, my directions, fields. They're like, oh, tipe Maria's card. It needs to all go. And we need to start, implementing these things in the kids that are in high school right now. Teach them integrity. Teach them, how to stand up for themselves. Teach them what's right. And once we do that from those grassroots level, we'll literally succeed. And it doesn't even take forever to overthrow a government. I'll give you an example of one in history. If you look at the strategy that Mussolini used, he tried to, because he understood the school system, he wanted to manipulate the kids to go tell their fathers who the leader should be. Now, if you also come to the US, right, where I am right now, you see these things, right? You see that right now Trump is getting rid of migrants. He doesn't even care about Van Vakuri. He cares about all those kids who are turning 18 every year. Because once these kids turn 18 every year and they're citizens, they become eligible to vote, these are the people who are most likely to throw away all these other people. And this is exactly what I'm thinking, we need to start investing in. I think I'll rest for now and then, pick up whenever I get a chance again.
Thanks so much, Clive. Dobbs, thanks so much for co-hosting, and Admire for accepting the co-host. The next speaker is Ayob, and then we go to Zimbabwe, and then we come back to Leonard. So if you need to speak, I see you here, Godfrey. Scotty, please grab a mic and say your contribution. Thank you.
Thank you very much. How are you, Zimbabweans? I think a lot of speakers have touched on what I wanted to say. But the main factor that is pulling Zimbabweans back, that is making Zimbabweans fail to topple ZANU-PF, it's disunity. The main factor we have as Zimbabweans is that people who are into politics, they are not there specifically to free Zimbabwe. They are there to also eat from the same pot that is ZANU-PF is eating from. Saka, I tend to support Chimama when she questions Geza's agenda. Yes, Geza has been there for more than 3 decades. He's been a ZANU-PF. He's been a ZANU-PF, we all know. He only started to talk when he saw Kuti Chikafu Chapa. Saka, what we don't have in Zimbabwe is unity, real revolutionaries. Revolutionary number one. Revolution doesn't happen on Facebook. Revolution doesn't happen on media. Although influencers, they help spread the word out there to the people. Influencers, they help unite the people in what we want to achieve as Zimbabwe. So what Swangrai tried to do, we have seen Chamisa is trying to do as well. But what are we ordinary Zimbabweans doing? Are we partaking within the struggle? There is no revolution that happens on social media with the problems that we face every day. I'll give an example with Burkina Faso. When Traore started planning for the coup, it happened on the background. kuti dzakadzorira, then people later on knew kuti Traore now is taking over the country. Kupia kuitika, but there were a lot of influencers outside that we as Zimbabweans now, diaspora and Zimbabweans that are in Zimbabwe, should unite, plan in secrecy and have meetings. Kwete vanhu vanouya mutwitter moti I'm fighting for Zimbabwe but he's saying chimama ari wrong, mumoti aliena ari wrong, mumoti ningi ari wrong, but yet we are saying we've got one agenda that we need, which is to free Zimbabwe. We need to unite first, remove the fear within us as Zimbabweans. As I speak now, the army, the police, the military, all of them are struggling. Vano just sadza nemuriwo chaiwo kumakantingo, always with them on a daily basis. We go there, some of us, because of our work. We see